This is from Delusional. I've done videos of him before. The most underrated manga of all time. I think this is just a review, but I don't know if it's like several mangas or just one. So let's go.
I made a video where I recommended 5. Well over a year ago, I made a video where I recommended 5 underrated seinen manga. To this day, I still stand by those recommendations. However, I want to make an addition to that list, because there was a certain manga I had overlooked. A manga less read than any of my other recommendations, and now a manga I consider to be among the most underrated titles of all time. It's a manga called Usogi. The Kakuro is an underground gambling syndicate that holds major control over the world. Under their supervision, gambles of any magnitude can take place. Baku Madarame, also known as Usogui, is a genius gambler whose goal is to earn the right to participate in surpassing the leader, a gamble that wagers the leadership of Kakuro itself. However, it's a gamble he's already lost once, and that's literally the entire overarching plot. We witness Baku go from gamble to gamble until the very end. Unpredictability is important in storytelling. In Madoka Magica, 1 second you're watching some magical girls do some magical things, and then in the next you're like, oh. In Dawn to Dawn they'll go from fighting a crab to kaijus to aliens, his balls are gone, not a single possibility is ever ruled out. And then there's Darling in the Franxx, where they turn into a f***ing spaceship. 2 of these are good, this one not so much. From the start, Dawn to Dawn establishes a world with ghosts and aliens. Never in my life would I predict they would fight Mozart, but these scenarios fit seamlessly into its chaotic world. Madoka Magica sprinkles foreshadowing everywhere in its early episodes, so when it takes its darker turn, you're surprised but quickly able to make the connections. When 02 turns into a spaceship, how the f did we get here? The manga is named Usogui. The person nicknamed Usogui is not going to lose anytime soon. Yet after every single chapter, my palms are layered with sweat, and I can feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins. Whenever a gamble takes place, the Kakuro sends a referee to preside over the match. Before the match can begin, both parties must agree upon a game, the rules, and what they'll wager. The referee's job is to make sure the rules are followed and that the winner receives their payment. Imagine you're partaking in a very illegal gamble against a very shady organization where you and the other party are risking everything. If you win that gamble, 9 out of 10 times, it's probably gonna go like this. Ooh, tough luck. GG's, but I'm gonna take everything now.
Locking in.
We had a promise. Why you look at me like that?
Yeah, bro. You think that's
This is why the Kakuro is there. If you
That's why you don't do work with criminals. That's why you don't work with criminals. They're not usually men of the word, and they'll pull some bullshit like that on you. You could win 100%. And then you'll be like, no, we're not, I'm not giving my shit up to you now.
Even hesitates
watch enough anime, I will tell you.
Slightly on following what was agreed upon, they'll go,
Samurai. Yep, LOL.
Every referee is a John Wick level 100 Fortnite Battle Pass motherfucker. Rules in Usogi are law. Once they've been established, you can't bend them, but you can use them to your advantage. The games and the gambles are mostly simple. They'll play things like Battleship, Old Maid, Poker, Chopsticks, games many of you are familiar with, but with slight changes to the mechanics through rules suggested by the players. Creating a system that must be followed or played around, allowing for some of the most well thought out outsmarting in all of manga. This is where the unpredictability comes in. You never know how or what Baku will do in order to win. And I say unpredictable, but the truth is, I'm just not smart enough. The author of Usogui
I'm not gonna lie to you. Shit like this will play on Japan, and this is like a normal type anime for most Japanese people, right? But if you brought this same concept to the West, not only that it won't work and they won't greenlight that shit, they'll greenlight shit like Velma over things like this. I'm not even kidding with you. They'll pick something like Velma over something like this. I'm telling you they'll do it. They have done it before. It is wild. You'd be surprised how stupid these people are. They'll pick something that they kind of know already, over something that is brand new and not give it a chance. And then the thing that they kind of know flops its ass off and then be like, what happened?
Toshio Sako puts an unfathomable amount of foreshadowing in the manga. It ranges from a couple of panels to literal hundreds of chapters. He doesn't point these things out for you. It's entirely left to the reader to pick up on themselves.
I like that.
And if it wasn't for the lovely people over at Duwong Scans who fans translated this manga because it isn't officially licensed, who constantly point out the foreshadowing, I would have missed a lot of it. One of my favorite things about Usogui is that every action has an effect. Every conversation, every panel is drawn with intention. Except chapter 175. We don't talk about this chapter. Toss it in the trash, burn it, blow it up. It's on site, dentist lady. I would love to go into detail about some of the outsmarting Usogui has and the foreshadowing that leads up to it, but I don't want to spoil that experience for anyone. But you can bet that when Baku goes to the bathroom or says a line or glances in a certain direction, it means something. Panels will be packed with information that isn't apparent at first, but later you'll go, oh wait, oh. Deus Ex Machina doesn't exist in Usogui, which for those unfamiliar is when an author pulls shit out of thin air. Think Sword Art Online, and I will admittedly watch anything from that franchise, but when Kirito dies and wills himself to come back to life, when the entire point of the show is that when you die in game, you die in real life, that's slightly stupid. It's not that reality isn't exaggerated in Usogui. I mean, this guy is balancing on bayonets, and this guy just jumped from the rooftop, swung to the second floor, and kicked in a door. But when it comes to the smarts, everything wraps up with a logical conclusion. Usogui builds enough trust so that when it tries to sell that a trick is fucking plants, you know it's just misdirection and something else is going on. Leading up to every reveal, hints to the plan Baku is cooking are scattered everywhere. And he's a fine-ass chef every single time, better than even Gordon Ramsay. In theory, if you pay close enough attention, it's not impossible to figure out anyone's plan before it's revealed. The manga gives you all the necessary information to do so, I was just never able to. But getting close and connecting all the dots afterwards is one of the things that makes this manga so much fun to read. Sako is extremely meticulous when it comes to storytelling. The rules for air poker were decided an entire 8 years before the arc was drawn. You can tell how much thought he put into Usogui. Not a single time in the entire manga did I feel like something came out of nowhere. What is that noise? Except Marco's flying knee! Usogui is often described as a gambling manga, and it is, but it's also a fighting manga. And don't worry, because the fights never subtract from the mind games, they only add to the quality of them. They're also absolutely insane. Let me show you. This guy throws out a punch at Marco. To dodge his punch, Marco slides under him, and while the enemy tries to turn around in response, Marco does a backflip, kicks the enemy in the chest, propelling himself forward, then mid-air, turns around, and uses the wall to deliver an absolutely disgusting knee. This is only a portion of one of the hundreds of fights that happen, and the art and choreography only get better as time goes on. You see, Sako is an absolute fucking madman. He picked up martial arts and boxing during Usogi's serialization. Yes, you were hearing me right. He is him. One of the reasons was because he wanted to get in shape. Drawing Usogi was taking a toll on his health. The other reason was because he wanted to use his own body as a reference and get fighting experience to improve the quality of his art. And I want you to understand how crazy that is, because Usogui was a weekly series. This is a chart of the chapter releases during its almost 12-year-long serialization. He took 22 weeks off in total, 22 in 12 years. You can watch his amateur boxing fights on YouTube. After this, he probably went home and drew a couple panels. What deters many from starting Usogui is its long chapter count and art style. Some find it hard to look at the art in the beginning, but I think a more accurate complaint is that it's inconsistent, because this is from chapter 12 and this is from chapter 13. Baku will have this immaculate jawline. Look at the lines, the definition, absolute mugging everyone around him. Then in just 2 panels, he'll go, peace, looking like, what the hell happened? I kind of get their complaints. At the start, a majority of the time, Baku looks like he just got off his shift at the circus. But this is where it's going, and it gets there quick. Sako is not afraid to throw in panels that don't look the greatest. He experiments with angles, goes the extra mile to draw unnecessary expressions, faces, and movement, to take risks in the art style and presentation because he knows repetition and trying new things is the fastest way to improve. His dedication to improvement is one of the most inspirational things I've seen in the industry. As a result, towards the end of Usogi's serialization, we're blessed with some of the best art and storytelling manga has to offer. Don't let its lengthy expositions or slow start stop you from reading Usogi, because what awaits you in the final 200 chapters gets me as excited as Baku does when he gambles. Me and you, Baku, me and you. But if they were just gambling money, the manga would be kind of boring. Risk is everything for a gambling manga. Kakaguri is another piece of media that has gambling as its main focus, but if you ask me what I remember about it, the only thing that comes to mind is that this bitch is crazy. I can't recall any of the games they played or the rules, but one thing it got right was the atmosphere. If I wanted to watch someone gamble a lot of money, I don't need fiction. I watch someone on Instagram do it every day, or I can do it myself. What I can't watch is people bet their lives. Okay.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong there, bro. Delusion's not wrong on that.
That makes me sound like a psychopath. Point is, there's a reason why Squid Game was so popular. I was on the edge of my seat when they played Russian roulette, or when they had their fingers under that guillotine, or when Kaiji walked across that steel beam. In Usogui, there's never a moment without this feeling. Risk is always There's this gamble in Usogui that involves a bronze bull and 3 players, all of whom take turns using a single watch. I'm not going to delve into the intricacies of the gamble, but basically when you don't perform, you have to climb inside a bull. And this is bad because there is a flamethrower under that bull.
Yeah, they're gonna cook you.
Now, I've been lucky when it comes to health and injuries.
I forgot. I don't remember if that was like a Bible thing, but that was a thing. So if you did some bullshit, some heinous shit, they'll put you in a literal like iron like bowl, and then they'll cook
Darth
you in
Goricorn. I know the origin of the
there.
bronze bull.
Yeah, it's like that. I think that's what that was. I think it was a Bible thing if I remember right. It's like
Darth Goricorn.
I think
The guy that made it died in it.
wasn't it a Bible thing? Wasn't it like a punishment or some shit? If you did some heinous shit, they'll put you in the bowl and cook your ass. Wasn't that what that was about? Or I'm thinking the wrong thing. Was this like some type of Games of Thrones type shit? Unless I'm getting that confused with something else.
Darth Goricorn.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was not.
Okay, I guess it was something else I got confused with. But I remember someone was in there and they got cooked the fuck
Darth
off.
Goricorn.
Mostly because I never
I forget what king had it made.
go outside. But there are 2 times in my life where I f***ed around and found out. The first was when I was messing around with a screwdriver. I fell face first into it. The second was when I was making a sandwich and accidentally pressed the base of my thumb against the grill for far too long. Yeah, not the brightest kid. Both of these left a small scar, but curiously, I don't remember the pain that screwdriver gave me. The burn, however, is seared permanently into my memory, because for the next 5 years, my scar would sporadically tingle. The mere contemplation of getting into that bowl, to get inside and embrace that excruciating pain, those scorching bullets piercing through every fiber of your existence. The despair that overwhelms you as what seemingly is your sole salvation inside the bowl, your desperate gasp for oxygen, slowly turn into what feels like swallowing molten lava. The scent of your Okay, I'm gonna stop before YouTube demonetizes me. Usogi is intense. Once you start reading an arc, it's hard to put down. I don't want to spoil any other games or punishments. You just have to take my word for it. Just know that air poker might have been the coolest, most creative game I've ever f***ing seen. Usogi's world is grimy, corrupt. The line between good and bad is muddled. Baku is the protagonist, and he isn't a bad person, but he isn't exactly a good person either. He's ambitious, seemingly willing to sacrifice anything to win. He's addicted to the thrill of gambling. The closer to death he is, the more excited he gets. A little too excited. His intuition, his stature, his attitude, everything about himself appears to live solely for gambling, to the point where he sometimes doesn't feel human, especially in the beginning. However, throughout the story, we learn that this isn't the case. On the surface, this is who Baku is, and nothing will ever completely change that aspect of him. But there's a lot more going on in his head. Although Baku seems like a perfect, flawless person, just like the rest of us, he deals with things like loneliness, sadness, and regret. Humans are complicated. We constantly contradict ourselves and get caught up in our emotions. Even if we have a goal or follow an ideology that we believe to be entirely true in the moment, with a single event, that belief can easily be broken apart or questioned. Kiara has the goal of being the strongest, and he chases after that goal, providing some of the sickest fights in the entire manga. This guy gives out Colombian neckties like they're cotton candy, which are not neckties filled with coke. They're something you never want to see. And this guy calls everyone a monkey, believing he's superior to the entire human race. That's not okay, although he would get along with Geto. Every character has their own goals and it presides over everything else, but they're not only that, they're multifaceted. I didn't care about Kaiji in the beginning. He's weak. He felt like a nuisance to the story and only got in the way of Baku's screen time. But little by little, you start to tear away the layers of his personality. Kaiji spent his entire life not in control of it. When something bad would happen to him, he would accept it gracefully. He was fine with taking the fall for others, even when it didn't benefit him. He always waited for someone to tell him what to do, never taking action himself. But after he meets Baku, something in him starts to change. It's slow, gradual, and he struggles with feelings of insecurity and battles with his past self the entire story. And every decision he makes, it weighs him down, yet with every choice, the weight gets lighter and lighter until it eventually isn't there anymore. Exactly how a person changes themselves in real life. Very quickly, that part of me that didn't care for Kaiji at all couldn't wait for him to reappear, to finally see him be able to stand by Baku's side by his own volition as an equal. Usogi's characters never act opposed to their built-up personalities. If they change, it's through the development over the course of hundreds of chapters. Look at his glow-up. He's so beautiful. I can't remember the last time I liked this many antagonists in a story. It's because they stand against Baku as equals. They're never used as a scapegoat to highlight how smart he is. All of them have different methods, ideologies, and strategies. Their distinct personalities directly translating to how they approach the games. Their plans are calculated like Baku's, but utilize the strengths they have, meaning that no one reaches the same conclusion on how to win, which elevates the mind games of Usogui to another level. Without great antagonists, Baku's outsmarting wouldn't be as satisfying. Without Baku being one step away from losing everything, the manga wouldn't be as intense. And if it was just its amazing artwork, unreal fights, unique characters, and great storytelling, Usogui would already be up there as one of the greats. But for some reason, this manga is so damn motivating. And yes, I am literally about to argue that a manga about gambling is motivating. 99% of gamblers quit before their big win. There are a lot of great themes in Usogui that I've already hinted at, but there is one specific theme I want to highlight. It doesn't happen often, but every once in a while, Usogui throws out this idea that life is a gamble. I think that when you create anything, it's impossible to completely detract yourself from the work. Bits of who you are always riddled in, which is why I believe this idea Sako occasionally throws around is an allegory to his own philosophy. Earlier, I mentioned Sako is one of the most dedicated people in the industry, but the thing is, he always wasn't like this. There was a period in his life where he thought he would never have what it takes. Sako loved manga since his childhood. Growing up, he read almost every weekly magazine, but despite his passion for it, he had no confidence. He always considered becoming a mangaka as some unattainable fantasy. It took him 23 years. It took him until after he had already gotten his hairdressing license, until he broke down crying in a bathroom stall to finally realize that this wasn't what he wanted from life. It was at that moment where he decided he needed to stop running away, to change this unreasonableness and unfairness he felt from society into his own strength. He moved to Tokyo, and for the next 5 years, every single day after work, he would practice drawing. He had no mentor, just himself. When he was 28, he quit his job and started his pursuit of becoming a mangaka. He still had no guidance or mentor, often leading to him feeling lost, but luckily a year into his struggle, he would get an opportunity. A friend introduced him to the mangaka of Ahiru no Sora, and Sako didn't let this opportunity pass by and begged Takashi, saying, "I don't need money, please let me work as your assistant." And he made the most out of it. Making no money, he would study Takashi's techniques obsessively, from the shape of a panel to the thickness between the lines. He would try to absorb any piece of information that might help him improve. Eventually, finally gaining the confidence he once didn't have, that anything is possible as long as he works hard enough. Sako decided to aim for 3 one-shots a year. At the time, he was just drawing as hard as he could, without knowing whether any of them would secure him serialization. But all his one-shots ended up winning awards, and his third one ended up winning honorable mention, which got him a spot in the magazine. At 32, he had finally done it. Usogui began publishing, and ever since then, he hasn't looked back. Knowing where Sako comes from, when the theme occasionally ends up getting thrown around, its weight is so much heavier. And how can it not be, when the person behind it is someone who once felt trapped in his life? Someone who felt like he wasn't going to amount to anything. Someone who eventually got fed up with the unfairness in life and decided to take fate into his own hands, dropping everything and finally chasing after his dream. Someone who took 5 years to get here, another 5 years to get here, and another 5 years to create some of the best panels in all of manga. Sako is now 50 years old and has a wife and kids. To this day, he still boxes and even recently won a belt. For his second manga Batuk, which ended this January, he picked up the martial art capoeira. His third serialization is currently on the way, which could be a new Usogui sequel. I'm on my knees. Last year, he hosted an original art museum and donated the entire $75,000 he made from it to charity. He travels the world, sometimes hosts events to the public, and indulges in the occasional vice. We can't choose who our parents are. Some people win the jackpot the second they're born, while others seem destined to lose from the very start. But depending on how you struggle, the future might change even a little bit. At the end of the day, life is a gamble no one can win. In the end, everyone ends up dying. In the end, everyone ends up losing. But it is especially because there is an end that people during a gamble shine.
So you're telling me I should put my entire bank account on red?
Wait, what? No, that's not what I meant.
Red, come on,
what are
red,
you doing?
Red,
No,
red,
don't.
Yeah!
Alright, so that was delusional on that. That was amazing. That was actually pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. That was amazing. Oh my god, that was crazy. Let me see if I can